This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for August 17th. What? 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Monday edition of the podcast. Let's get into Rewind the Weekend like we do every Monday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. They have you covered for your Philly sports apparel needs. Constantly, they're like machines over there, constantly putting out new shirts. So go check it out, see what they have. Get ready for Eagle season, LeBron and the Sixers, perhaps a Phillies Red October run, and use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, speaking of those Phils, good weekend for the Phils. They won both games. The offense stayed hot on Saturday, 9-1. Jesus Luzardo was solid. The bullpen was solid. They didn't play Friday because of, I guess, the travel from the Field of Dreams game, but they stayed hot. Trey did foul ball off his knee. It looked painful. Didn't play yesterday, but appears to be okay. But a good win. And then started off, looked like a clunker yesterday, but battled back to overcome a 5-0 deficit for the sweep. I think the offense has been better of late. So I don't know if that's sustainable, whatever, but good come from behind win yesterday. And I didn't think that Andrew Painter was that bad. Got in a little bit of trouble through a bad pitch and gave up the grand slam. But the bullpen, once again, was awesome. So maybe they're turning the corner. Just when I thought I was ready to write them off, they pulled me back in. So we'll see what happens. But they start a 6-game homestand, starting with the Marlins tonight, then the Cardinals. Christopher Sanchez on the mound tonight. But kind of a quick standings check, 7.5 games back of the Braves. They're currently tied with the Padres for the second wild card spot. But since they swept them and have the tiebreaker, they do have the edge there. But the Diamondbacks are floating out there too, just 1 game back. So buckle up. We have a pennant race, or a playoff race, I should say, going on. But a good weekend for our Phillies. Not so much for the Eagles. Not a good, strong showing for the offense. It was just an ugly, typical what you'd expect from a preseason game. I don't even know how much stock to put in that. Sirianni said as much. He said it was the play calling was very vanilla, but they couldn't move the ball. Neither backup quarterback candidate looked well. Cole Payton played well, but that was against third stringers. Not a whole lot to like on the offense. Darius Cooper had a drop. It just was just sloppy. Kind of what you would expect. Markel Bell, I thought was solid, though. The possibility of him being Lane's heir apparent. The other players on the line, I don't think it was, nothing stood out as spectacular. Nothing stood out as really bad. I thought the defense was good. Ty Robinson had a sack. Uar played. I think he's going to have some big potential. Jahad Campbell played for 2 series. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. started alongside him, had a sack, and played well in the first half. I didn't think the secondary was all that good. But it is what it is. You move on. Again, I don't know how much stock you put in that. I think this week is going to be key because they have the live practices with the Patriots. So hopefully we get some more, some better encouraging news. But again, not a whole lot. Kyle and I will be back Thursday to break this down, kind of update what's happening with the Patriots practice and get you ready for that preseason game on Saturday. But kind of disappointing. We were flipping back and forth between the Eagles and the Phillies, and it just was a brutal, brutal game to watch, man. Ugh. But we have live football, so regular season will be here before we know it. Union showed off on Friday. I saw they have new kits coming out. They don't say bimbo on the front, or bimbo or whatever, however you pronounce it. They say Philly. They look pretty sweet too. There was a little thing on their social media introducing them. They'll debut them on Wednesday night. But last night they were up in New York. They were down 2-0. Scored 3 straight goals in the second half to win it. They remain hot, but they're back in action on Wednesday night. And congrats, we have a local Little League World Series team to watch. Eastside Little League from Westchester beat Naaman's Little League from Wilmington to move and win the Mid-Atlantic for the region and represent in the Little League World Series. So looking forward to that. I believe games kick off later this week. Once the official schedule's out, we'll update them. But Eastside Little League from Westchester, that's who we're rooting for this year in the Little League World Series. UFC 330 was this weekend. I'll admit I'm not much of a UFC guy, but pretty cool moment when Philly native Jeremiah Wells pulled off the huge upset in front of his hometown crowd. And then overall, though, it seemed like it was a very solid event. Lots of fan turnout. I saw people lined up hours before the preliminaries, even the gates even open for the preliminaries. You had guys losing teeth, guys retiring. I guess what you'd expect from UFC. But overall, it seemed like it went very well for Philly. And then the Hall of Fame, Naismith Hall of Fame induction ceremony was over the weekend. Lots of Phillies connection there. We talked about Elena Deladun, and when she was in our tournament, so congrats to her for getting in. Doc Rivers, whatever. But obviously there's a Philly connection there. And Joey Crawford, longtime NBA referee and Philly native, was inducted. And Dawn Staley was inducted again for her role on the 1996 U.S. Women's Olympic team. At any time I see somebody that's in there 2 times, I think Booker T from WWE, 2 times. Anyway, so congrats to everybody. I guess even Doc Rivers for getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Speaking of the Sixers, I did see on Friday after I recorded that there will be no black jerseys this year. Disappointing. So I guess it was one and done. I was able to kind of really look into the schedule, and they have less back-to-backs than what they've had in a while. So I guess that's the LeBron effect. So from that regard, the schedule is favorable for the Sixers. So works for me. So what happened this weekend in Philly sports history? Let's start on August 15th. And in 1958, the Phillies lose to the Braves 1-0, but Richie Ashburn went 3 for 4, including his 2000th career hit. And then fast forward to 1983, Phillies beat the Cubs 5-0. Mike Schmidt hit his final grand slam as a Major League Baseball player. It was number 7, setting a Phillies record. And in 1990, Phillies beat the Giants 6-0. Terry Mulholland pitched a no-hitter, the only base runner reached on a Charlie Hayes error. And as fate would have it, Hayes would make the final out of the game. It was the first no-hitter by a Philly in Veterans Stadium history. Then in 2014, speaking of the Little League World Series, Monet Davis becomes the first girl to throw a complete game shutout in the Little League World Series. She continues to impress today. She's playing in the Women's Professional Baseball League. She's on the circuit with the Savannah Bananas for, I think it's the Indianapolis Clowns. So shout out to Monet. But on August 15th, 2014, she pitched the shutout. Bryce Harper hit a walk-off grand slam to beat the Cubs 7-5 in 2019 and sprinted around the bases, if you remember. And then Weston Wilson hit for the cycle as the Phils beat the Nats 13-3. That was in 2024. And on August 16th, Dick Allen tied a team record and a Major League record by walking 5 times in a game. Phillies lose, though, to the Giants 7-5. 1 year later, Rick Wise pitched a shutout as the Phillies beat the Astros 7-0. It was the fourth straight shutout for the Phils. And then in 1977, Phillies extend their modern club record 13 or winning streak to 13 games, beating the Expos 7-5. They would lose the next day, though. And then 1 year later from that, Sixers trade George McGinnis to the Nuggets for Bobby Jones in a move that would help them win a world title in 1983. Phillies fire Charlie Manuel in 2013. 2016, it was Chase Utley's return to the park as a member of the Dodgers. He had 2 home runs, including a grand slam, received 2 huge standing ovations as the Dodgers beat the Phils 15-5. And then the Phillies win their 10,000th game in team history in 2022, beating the Reds. And that is Rewind the Weekend, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. Get your LeBron collection shirts. Our LeBronosaurus shirts came. Excited to wear that. They got you covered. All right, Friday's trivia question. Which Philadelphia baseball players have won back-to-back MVPs? Well, Jimmy Fox did it for the A's in 32 and 33. Mike Schmidt did it for the Phillies in 80 and 81. And Ryan Howard and Jimmy Rollins did it in 06 and 07. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Philly Jimbo as well. Spread the word. Those subscribing and all that really helps out with the algorithm and gets the podcast in rotation. And don't forget the Brotherly Birds breakdown. You can check out what we were looking for in the preseason game. But Kyle and I will be back on Thursday with another brand new episode. Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. All right, August 17th. Let's go back to 1957, and this is a very interesting story. Phillies beat the Giants 3-1 at Connie Mack Stadium. In the first inning, Richie Ashburn hit a foul ball that hit Alice Roth in the nose. Broke her nose. She was the wife of Earl Roth, who was the sports editor for the Philadelphia Bulletin. As they were taking her out on a stretcher with the broken nose, later in the at-bat, he hit another foul ball that hit her on the knee and fractured a small bone in her knee. Obviously, what are the odds? But it was the start of something special. Roth and Ashburn became good friends. They kept in touch. She was at the game with her grandkids, and they were able to give them autographs, invite them into the locker room, brought them to a couple games. Alice received free tickets for life. But just the most bizarre and odd thing, you get hit in the nose with a foul ball, and then as you're getting carried out of the stadium, you get hit by the same player with a foul ball on the knee and fracture your knee. One of the funnier stories about this whole situation is when he was visiting her in the hospital, Alice's grandson said, Grandma, can we go to an Eagles game and you get hit in the face with a football? Because of all the free tickets and everything. So you gotta love Philly fans, even back then in the 50s, loving their teams and wanting free tickets. But Richie Ashburn hit Alice Roth with not one, but 2 foul balls, breaking her nose, fracturing her knee. But it was the start of a long-standing friendship between Ashburn's family and the Roth family. Apparently, they would send Christmas cards every time they were at the park. They would speak to each other and everything. And that's what happened. Before, I forgot about this until I was researching this story. There was no netting behind the plate at all. So surprising that this didn't happen more often. All right, then fast forward to 1972. Phillies beat the Reds 9-4. Willie Montanez and Darren Johnson both hit homers. Steve Carlton pitched a complete game. It was his 20th win of the season and his 15th straight win. The streak would end in his next start, but if you remember, 1972 was the year the Phillies won 59 games, Steve Carlton winning 20 of them. But he got win number 20 and his 15th in a row on this day in 1972. And then fast forward to 2001. The Summer X Games were in Philly. Over 200,000 fans over the course of 10 days came out. The skateboard competition happened on the facade of City Hall, which was pretty cool. It's the first time they ever had to move some of the events inside, but just a cool experience. I remember this very well, just how the city was abuzz with it. But the Summer X Games started on this day in 2001. And then we go to 2020. The Flyers beat the Canadiens 1-0 to take a 2-1 lead in their first round playoff series. Jacob Voracek scored in the first period. And then from there, it was all Carter Hart as he saved 23 shots for the shutout, becoming the youngest Flyers goalie to record a shutout at 21 years old, 355 days. And that does lead us to today's trivia question. Prior to Carter Hart, who held the record for youngest Flyers goaltender to have a playoff shutout? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Any of my social media or the Discord channel. The link to that is in the description. But prior to Carter Hart, who was the youngest Flyers goaltender to record a shutout in the postseason? And then finally, in 2024, David Montgomery was inducted into the Phillies Wall of Fame after he had passed away. But on the field, it was the Phillies winning it 5-1. Christopher Sanchez with a complete game, 99-pitch, two-hitter. Think about that, 99 pitches, two-hitter. It was his second complete game of the season and the first complete game of under 100 pitches by a Phillies pitcher since Roy Halladay did it in 2010 in the division-clinching game for the Phils back then. So what a performance by Christopher Sanchez. That happened on this day in 2024. 2020 Flyers beat the Canadiens 1-0. Carter Hart becomes the youngest Flyers goaltender to record a postseason shutout. Summer X Games begin in 2001 on this day. Steve Carlton wins his 15th straight game in 1972. And Richie Ashburn hit Alice Roth in the face with a ball. And then as she was being carried out, hit her in the leg, fracturing a bone in her knee as well. But I think her grandson's comments sums up what a lot of us would say as kids and Philly sports fans. Can we go to an Eagles game and can you get hit in the face with a football? All right, today's question of the day, though. What do you make of the Eagles' offensive struggles on Saturday night? Is it cause for concern or is it just practice? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest? I'm not concerned yet. I want to see how this week goes with the joint practices, with the starters and everything like that. I would have liked for them to be a little bit more crisp, but it's practice. But what do you think? 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest? I'm not concerned. Kind of is what it is. I remember the Andy Reid days. There were a lot of times you saw nothing in preseason, even with the starters. So, but what do you think? Hit me up and let me know. We will be back tomorrow to update you on anything coming out of Eagles camp, as well as the Phillies-Marlins game 1 today. Of course, it's Tuesday motivation/positivity tomorrow. But I can't believe we're mid-August already. Teachers come back to school tomorrow. I do start my normal hours today. No more 7:30 to 2:30. I got to work. I know most of you out there are like, "Wow, you got to work 8 to 4." But it's a big adjustment. It's always tough the first day. Damn it. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 17th, 2026. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Monday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.